Hi, friends and neighbors. That's a dumb intro. Hi, friends and neighbors. Let's check on some lettuce that I planted. Huh. That's not looking like very much. Okay, that wasn't so great, but let's check on some that I planted a few weeks earlier than that. That's still pretty young. Let's look over here. Well, that's better. Still not ready to harvest yet. What am I to do? I know! I am a forager. I will find wild lettuce. Let's look at some. Oh look, here's some at my feet. Below my cultivar cultivated lettuce, I have some. Look at that, that's a... It's not showing me the image. Oh, okay. Ah, at my feet. That is some wild lettuce. How can I tell? Well, I just can't. We'll talk about identification. Here's some too. So, wild lettuce. This one is a spiny lettuce. See that spine along the midrib on the underside of the leaf? Well, I could have the exact species off because there's several species of wild lettuce, but I think this one is spiny lettuce. It is a wild lettuce. They're in the Asteraceae family, which has a ton of species in there, and it's related to your tame lettuce, but this is going to come up all over the place. At least it does in my yard, and it's going to come up a lot earlier. Well, I guess it depends on when you plant your lettuce. And you can eat it. Now this one has gotten old enough that the little spines are getting kind of hard, and I don't really want to eat this. This one's going to be bitter. Your wild lettuces they'll do that. Look at that. Look at the spines on that. Okay, let's do basic identification. Oh, but younger leaves, younger plants will be fine to eat, and even the older ones, you can boil the bitterness out of them. But if you want to eat it raw, you definitely want younger ones, unless you love bitter. Okay, identification. They will start out as a central rosette around the ground, like a dandelion will. Now, as it grows a stalk, it'll grow leaves on that stalk too, so it doesn't always stay a central rosette. The height varies by species, but you'll see them up 7 feet tall, maybe even taller once they shoot up their flowers. The flowers, by the way, are very dandelion-like, being in the family. Most of the ones around me are yellow, but there are also white and sort of a blue-purple varieties. A lot of people will call this one opium lettuce because, well, common names get shared a lot. The one that most people think of is the official opium lettuce, though. I don't think it grows around me at all. I think it grows in different places, or at least I've never seen it. But this one does have some of the pain-killing properties of the opium lettuce. Even opium lettuce, it doesn't have actual opium in it. It's just a pain-killing property, and that's from the sap. Hey, let's look at the sap. Another identifying feature. Look at that. It's white. White's normally a no-no sign, and this is what's going to make the plant bitter. But in the case of these, it's okay. It's a little sticky, kind of latexy. In fact, that's the genus name Lactuca. It's like milk, isn't it? Well, gosh, I think now I'm second guessing myself. I think it's the same where we get lactation, Lactuca, milk, milky sap. That's what's going to make it bitter. That's also where the medicinal aspect comes from. So if you're using it medicinally, older plants are where it's at. If you're using it for food, younger plants are better. Okay, I got a little off topic, but identification with the leaves themselves. The leaf shape is actually pretty variable, even within the same species, but definitely across species. Most of the time, well, I guess I shouldn't even say that. A lot of the time, they'll be very loby, serrated. Like this one is not very regular in its lobes. A lot of the times, the tip of it will look kind of like an arrowhead. Very common to be toothy at the edges, but if we look over, back over here, see this one is not nearly so loby. This one's really just toothy at the end, but this is the same exact species. And this one, this one has spines that are, well, I'm awfully close to that are very soft. I'm gonna pick this one. That's probably young enough to eat raw. So, oh, hi there. So this is a young one. We can eat this one raw. And it tastes, this was a little older than I thought. I can tell because it's a little tougher. The younger ones, let me just pick my ear on camera. That's classy. The younger ones are actually quite like lettuce from the store. It's actually very nice. Only a slight hint of bitterness. In fact, this one has a slight hint of bitterness. It's not bad. If you got like a big mouthful of it, you probably would notice. But then again, if you put salad dressing on it, you probably wouldn't notice. That's not bad. It's a little too tough for me. I was eating on this one, same plant, or same species. I was eating this one a little while ago. This one's more tender. Oh, maybe not as tender as something from the grocery store, but it's pretty close. But Scott, what if I identify the wrong plant? Well, if you identify the wrong plant, if it has, they don't all have the spine on the bottom. A lot of them have at least some hairs on the underside of the leaves. But I guess they don't all, I don't think they all do. If you get something that looks very close to this, but you've got the wrong species, most likely you've got either a dandelion or I'm blanking out on the other dandelion lookalikes. Maybe I'll pop them up on the screen. But you probably get a dandelion lookalike that are all edible. They will have white sap. Yum. So I've actually already had breakfast. I was fibbing about wanting to eat it right now. But for lunch, I'm gonna make a wild lettuce salad. You can eat them raw, you can eat them cooked and boiling. As with the dandelion leaf, boiling is probably the best for taking the bitterness out. You don't have to do it a real long time. The older the plant is, though, the more you're gonna wanna boil it. And then boiling, of course, is gonna pull out some of the nutrients. I don't think I have a real good source on what nutrients are in wild dandelion. If I was gonna take a guess, I'd say it's almost certainly, no, I would, okay, I can't prove this, but I'm absolutely certain that it's much more nutritious than the iceberg lettuce that they ship, because that stuff is just green cellulose in water. That's all it is. What else now? What else about our friend, the wild lettuce? Now, closer to the base of the plant, it's gonna be more bitter than at the tip. Generally, it might not make a big difference if it's a real young or a real old plant. The older plants, we could probably call those mildly toxic, because at that point they have so much medicinal power that they're kind of crossing over the border from a food to a medicine. How do you get the medicine out? Well, you can eat the leaf, and you can use the sap topically or internally too. You can cut the top of the plant off on the older ones that have the stalk. Cut the top of the stalk off, and then you can scrape away the sap as it appears several times a day, and it'll eventually run out of sap and let it dry. You can powder and dry the leaves. You can make a tincture. All of those work. Dosing, man, that really depends on a lot of stuff. It depends on the person. It depends on the plant that you got it from. You know, how old the plant was, which way you're extracting it, you know, where they're doing the sap. If I was doing it, I would start with something small and then work my way out, like maybe a teaspoon of, if you're doing the dried leaf, that might be, if I had never used it before and I was just going to see what it did for me, I would use about a teaspoon. If I was using the sap, I would start with less than a teaspoon of the sap. Now, what about side effects and dangers? Wild plants are not tested as rigorously as pharmaceuticals, so a lot of places on the internet will say, oh, it has no side effects and there's no risk of addiction. I think that risk of addiction is probably actually very, very low. Side effects is going to depend on, you know, person to person. I don't think that it's dangerous. I'm not a doctor, though. I would feel more comfortable taking a big dose of chamomile than I would a big dose of wild lettuce sap, but that's me. But I'm not really afraid of the plant either. I'll use it if I want to use it. What about using it? Does it get you high if it's called opium lettuce? Does it produce a high? Some people say that it does. I've never noticed a high, but I've never taken a megadose either. Really more what it does is it gives you a relaxed feeling. It can help you sleep. You're not like bouncing out of your head going, oh, the colors, I see numbers. No, that doesn't make sense. I see sounds. Yeah, you're not doing any of that. You're just it has a pain lowering effect. The strength, sometimes it gets hyped up crazy high, like, oh, it's like morphine. For some people it might be, especially with picking the right plant and using a very concentrated preparation. It could. For most people, I don't think they're going to get that reaction. But, you know, on the other hand, people will trash it and be like, oh, that's all myth, it's so exaggerated, it's barely nothing, it's nothing. You should go get a Tylenol. It does have an effect. It's just that there are a lot of variables involved. For most people, if you got a good plant, I would try to say the average would be somewhere around over-the-counter pain relievers. And personally, I mean, if I have to take a Tylenol or an Advil or something, I'll take one. That being said, I don't know how long it's been since I've taken one of those. I mean, years. I have taken them before, but it's been a long time. I would much rather eat some wild lettuce, or take some wild lettuce that's been prepared. I would much rather do that. I would feel a lot safer about that than some of that over-the-counter type of drugs that are so harsh on your liver. And just because something is in nature does not necessarily mean that it's safe, because there are a lot of incredibly deadly poisons in nature. But I feel safe enough about this for my own use that I would use this over Tylenol, unless I was being lazy. And let's be honest, sometimes I'm lazy and I don't want to go prepare something, you know, especially if I don't already have this. I have a tincture of it, but if I don't have something ready-made, sometimes, yeah, I'll just take the easy way out, because I'm a human too. Come on, cut me some slack. Did I cover all the bases? Did I do all the things? Did I check for zombies? Gosh, I could have been zombified this whole time. You gotta warn me next time. If a zombie comes up behind me, like, add a comment, okay, that there's a zombie, so I can watch out for that. But gosh, I hope we did a good enough summary of the wild lettuce. If you have questions, put them in the comments. I could do a follow-up video if I've left something obvious out, or if I wasn't clear, I'll reply to comments. Just let me know, and I'll see you in another video. Spring, it's wonderful. I'll see you later. Bye. No zombies.